Hello and welcome to another video. It's Jennifer. Today I wanted to show you how you can combine your stamps with their matching die cuts to create a window for your stamped image. So here's the card I'm going to create. It's using some new products from My Favorite Things, and I use the stamp on the inside of the card and create a die cut window so that it shows through when you have the card closed. So I'm just going to start out with how I normally start out with a card. I take my clear stamps and kind of arrange them on the front of the card how I possibly would want them to end up. So this is kind of like doing a sketch in my head. Instead of taking the time to draw a sketch, I just take my clear stamps, kind of position them where I think they might want to be and move them around. This is one of the great advantages of clear stamps, that you can just kind of visualize how your card is going to end up. Now I'm using some stamps that I happen to have matching dies for. These again are from My Favorite Things, but these stamp and matching die combos are very popular right now, and this is one of the great things you can do with them. So here's the die that matches that flower, and I also have the leaf dies too. I'm going to take this and take a little bit of sticky tape. This is some post-it note sticky tape. You could use washi tape also, and just going to tape this flower down where I want the die cut to cut. So I've just got the cutting edge down. I'm going to take this, open my card up, and run that through my die cut machine. Any die cut machine will work here. Remove the die, and there you have the little window on the front of the card. Next I have my leaves. Remember, I wanted them to overlap here. That's how I kind of played around with them at the beginning. And so I'm going to position the dies right about where I think I want the stamping to be. And you'll notice they will overlap with the die I already did, the die cut I already did. And I will use the same sticky tape to hold it in place and run that through my die cut machine. Now this looks a little funny here, but once we get the stamping done, it'll look much better. So we have that perfectly sized to stamp the image on the inside of the card. Now I want to do the stamping through this window, and I don't want it to pop open while I'm trying to do it and make a mess. So I'm just using a little bit of sticky tape here to tape my card closed so that I don't have to worry about it messing up. I'll also take a little piece of tape up here just so it lays nice and flat. I'm going to be using some dye inks from My Favorite Things. The first one is the orange color. I'm going to ink up the flower stamp that matches the die that we cut, and I'm going to stamp this in the center right through the window. Now you'll notice that I edit out parts of this. It's because my big old head gets in the way of the taping, and that's because I want to make sure I look right down through the clear stamp so I can aim it right into the window that I cut. Now I decided this was too light. I wanted it to be darker, so I just stamped it again right on top of itself to get a darker image. Now before I stamp my leaves, I need to create a mask over the flower. So I'm using this Eclipse masking tape. You could also use a post-it note or just a piece of typing paper for this, but I'm going to die cut my flower. I happen to die cut the leaves, but I didn't need to. So I have a sticky mask of the flower. Now this die cut is actually bigger than the stamped image, but that's okay. It's going to work anyways. I'm just going to line up this little, these two petals over here where I want to do the masking. I'm going to line this right up on the edge. So you don't have to worry about it being too big if you just make sure it's lined up. You could hand stamp and cut the mask, but this is much quicker. So now I have that mask good enough to do the leaf, and I'm going to use this Sour Apple Green die ink up the leaf, and I'm going to look down straight from above and stamp right into that window. Again, I want my image to be really vibrant, so I'm going to double stamp it and then peel off the mask. And you can see that that die cut worked pretty well on masking off that flower. Now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to just line up just those two petals there with the mask, and then I'm going to stamp the next leaf. Again, I'm going to double stamp it so that it's nice and vibrant. And this is one great way to get more out of your inks, is to stamp them twice to get a darker color. So now that this is finished, I can peel off my mask, and there we have the nicely stamped image perfectly placed in that window, thanks to them being clear stamps and thanks to the dies perfectly fitting the stamps. Now I noticed I got some ink where I didn't want it to be, in this little spot right here between the petals, and so I'm going to show you one of the tricks that I do. If it's on white cardstock, you can just take your craft knife, the side of it, and just kind of rub it away, just gently kind of roughen up the surface, and this will actually take the ink off the surface. Now if you roughen your paper up a little bit too much, all you have to do is take a good eraser and rub along it, and it'll be nice and smooth again, and nobody will ever know that you made a mistake. So now I wanted to show you the rest of the stamping that I did on this. One of the fun things about this stamp set, it comes with this little center that goes along with the flower. I looked online on what kind of colors were popular with these kind of flowers, and a darker center seemed to be big, so I went ahead and did this in a darker razzleberry ink, which is the red ink. And then I also used this little dot that was in the stamp set to do a touch of yellow right at the center of the flower, and I layered it a few times so it was nice and vibrant. You'll also see that I added some shine to this flower, but we'll get back to that at the end of the video. Now I thought we'd go ahead and do the outside of the card. I'm going to use this thank you greeting from another My Favorite Things stamp set and stamp that in this Snow Raspberry ink, which is a great blue dye ink. Now I thought that that was a little too simple, so I wanted to add a little bit of interest to the outside of the card. So I decided to take one of their border stamps that has these great messages about art and ink this with a soft ink. I'm using Hero Art Soft Pool ink. I think these soft shadow inks work really well with the brighter inks that My Favorite Things carries. I'm going to stamp this onto the background. I always start at the bottom and work my way up to cover the whole front of the card. You could also just do one strip of this along the card if you wanted to. So I've done the bottom piece, and now I'm going to go ahead and stamp the one right above it. I'm using the Martha Stewart stamp press here. It's got these great little feet that help with making sure you get a good alignment before you press down, but you could use any acrylic block for this. So there you have it, the flower peeking through the window on the front of the card. Now I wanted to go back and add a little bit of shine to this card since I don't have any embellishments on it. So I'm going to use the Wink of Stella pens. These are little glitter pens that kind of have a brush tip that you can really easily paint on this super fine touch of glitter. Now it's very subtle and it doesn't rub off, so it's great for cards where you just want to add a little something. So I use some pink on the center, then I'm taking the clear and just adding a little bit of highlighting towards the center of the leaves. Then I'm going to go back with my green pen, the green Wink of Stella pen, and add just some lines along it. This is a much darker green, so I'm just kind of adding some shading onto here just to kind of give it a little bit of interest. And then go back with the yellow glitter pen and fill in the edges of these petals. Again, this is very subtle, just something that catches the light and really adds just a touch of interest. And then I'm taking the clear pen and also tracing over the sentiment so that it stands out also. So there you have a way to combine your stamps and their matching dies to create a fun window for your stamped image. If you have any questions, please head over to jennifermcguireinc.com and we'll see you again next time.